My name is Owen Hill. I'm the CEO of Professional Football Jamaica Limited, and we are responsible for the Jamaica Premier League, where you have 14 clubs across the island at the extreme elite level in professional football.
All right, so Mr. Hill, today is International Men's Day,
Yeah.
and we're here to celebrate International Men's Day.
Yeah.
So, how does it feel knowing that the men are being celebrated today, and in society, you always hear that the men are to the back of the class? Yes.
It's good. I mean, I know that having a specific day that is dedicated to celebrating men and the impact of men in the world is always good, and I'm just happy and full of warmth because I know what it is like in just advocating, men's health, men's activity, those things that will empower the next generation of men to be good fathers, good role models, good husbands, just good citizens overall. So I'm excited about the opportunities and the possibilities and what we are doing here in Jamaica.
Right. All right. So the ministry has now launched this daddy daycare.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
It came out of one conversation, I can tell you. It was like a match made in heaven, ultimately. And I'm excited about the possibilities of that daycare because essentially what it means is just providing the tools, the techniques, the space for empowering men, giving them an option, giving them an opportunity so that they can become good fathers. So having the ministry specifically through the gender unit, rolling out this program, we are excited to be on board, partnering with the ministry, and definitely looking forward to all the activities, all the skills that will be taught, and just the outcome, the impact that we will have by being a part of the program.
All right, so you're out there every day with these young men.
Yeah.
And we know that, especially in our culture, there's a lot of trauma. How do you deal with these young men that are out there every day, the different personalities that you have to cope with?
To be honest, it's difficult. It's difficult, I can tell you. I mean, let's start from that position to know that in dealing with trauma, and this is not a physical thing now, oftentimes, because again, football gives you physical impact, trauma, etc. No, this is psychological, this is sociological. It has a lot to do with the intangible. So what we try to do is to offer them space, good role modeling. So they have somebody to actually talk to and look up to. And we have these conversations, try to be as open as possible. Ensure that you're demystifying anything that may be like a taboo area and have them be open and honest about what they're experiencing. And, pointing them in different directions, giving them the tools to ensure that they can deliver when it's time to deliver. Because in motion, in moment, that's when we need them to actually execute.
So, all right. So, you know that counseling is considered taboo in our culture.
For sure.
So, how do you work with them to get them to that space where they're actually comfortable in speaking with a counselor?
First, demystifying that counseling is something, negative or taboo. All of us need counselors at some point or, in our life, whether it be we're healthy mentally now or we may be having challenges. But the point is, counseling comes in different forms. So your coach is a counselor, your friend can be a counselor, your mother can be a counselor, your father, somebody in your community, just different areas that counseling is very important. And then you have the professional counseling. So we try to make sure that they're exposed to that. And again, it's channeling them in the direction because we want them to feel comfortable and be willing to open up about any issues that they may have. So the professional side is definitely important. But in the current landscape, what we try to do is to bring it down to their levels to make sure that they're at ease, feel comfortable, and that they can open it up.
All right. So compared to when me and you was growing up, you know that the youths are a little bit, they're like different generation now.
Yeah.
How do you deal with this generation compared to when you were growing up and knowing that like mommy talk and you can't talk back, or an older person speak to you and you can't talk back, you just have to just sit down and just take whatever counsel they're giving. But no, you have that where, or if you say something, they will fire back at you with something.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah,
Well, that's a good question. For me, what I try to do is to learn first, what specifically are you experiencing now, and understand that, times have changed. The evolution is necessary. So I'm not trying to get you to be what the 90s were, or, early 2000. If this is the current reality that we're dealing with, then I would expect that, we understand what they're dealing with first, and then find alternative solutions. So meeting them where they are, essentially, rather than trying to get them to where we are in a forcible manner. So it's really just, shifting your approach,
Right.
ensuring that the value systems are still present, but just shifting the approach to actually get the outcome that you want.
That's so good. All right. So, of course, you know that the kids nowadays are more complacent as well. So how do you deal with that part? Because they don't want to put in as much effort like me and you probably would put in the earlier days.
Do I agree that they're more complacent? Again, that's a moot point. That's still out for debate. What I find is just a shift in culture, just
Right.
like, what existed. So if I'm to take it back, my parents used to say, well, for the generation, I don't want to come from, right? So I don't want to follow in that footsteps to say the next generation is worse off or them complacent. They are what they are, and what do we want is a better outcome. So it's really just kind of reducing any, misnomers, any predetermined notions that you walk in any space with, and just allowing yourself to understand the person who is across from you. So
Right.
if it's a child, well, okay, well, you're not doing the things that mommy or daddy say, or your guardian or your teacher or whatever it is. Why? Dig deeper to the why. And then if you understand that, then you get better outcomes. You
All right.
generally get
So
better
as a
outcomes.
coach, as a manager, how do you pass on that advice to the parents at home?
Well, again, start with, empathy. Start from the position of, I am trying to understand what is happening. So if we empathize first, have some agreeable ground rules. I mean, there are rules of engagement anywhere at all you go. So an example of what I mean is you can't go to the bank at 4 o'clock and expect the bank to be open, right? So you get up and you structure everything. And once you have those commonalities and agreements in place, and then you start from the position of empathy, I think you get good outcomes. And I try to ensure that I meet you where you are, but also bring you to where I am, and that we have some positive outcomes at the end of it. Because truth be told, the destination is pretty much a better place. Wherever that better place is, we are all trying to figure it out.
Right.
So as an adult, as a parent, as a coach, as a mentor, I may need somebody to help me to get to the destination while I am on my journey. And then I'm allowing for others who want my own guidance to be getting to that destination. So it's an approach that really non-judgmental, and at the same time, if we're on the same page oftentimes, or more often than not, then I think we'll get to the outcome that we want.
So for boys that are coming up that would love to get into the Premier League, what would be the encouragement for them?
Well, you must get into the Premier League. That's the first thing. I mean, there are different channels that you can get there. First, you probably play for your local high school, so you get that kind of training at the fundamental level. Chances are you are connected to a community which is connected to a club. So once you're playing in a club system and you employ the practices, the train hard, listen to your coach kind of thing, then you'll accelerate through. You will accelerate through. And then, I mean, one of the things I'm passionate about is for people to understand that it's not just a player on the field that you can have an impact in any football organization. There are other ways. So if you're good at skills such as graphic designing, or you're a photographer, or you're an accountant, all of those roles are required in the football organization, because you need somebody to do your books, you need somebody to take your pictures, you need somebody to edit. So there are different roles within the football ecosystem. So don't just look at it as, oh, I want to play on the field.
Right.
Because while you want to play on the field, that's a finite number of players. Probably if you're a good marketer or a good HR practitioner, who knows? Sky's the limit. You can work at FIFA, you can work at CONCACAF, you can work at Liverpool or Man U. So it's not just on the field. Oftentimes we are probably hardwired to just think on the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's bigger than that. It's bigger than that. So my approach is always to get people to see that on the field is good.
Right.
But what if you don't want to be on the field, but you still want to be in the space?
Right.
Here are the opportunities. So look at all the elements and try it.
So parents know, like me being a parent,
Yeah.
and my son say, "Mommy, I want to play football," and you know how challenging it can be to pick up from football practice, always making the sacrifice. What advice will you give to us parents when it comes down to our kids and wanting to make that sacrifice for a sport?
Balance. Balance is key. Balance is key to everything. So have the discussion. Have the discussion with the child. Some of them might be a little longer, so you don't have that kind of rapport, but as they get older, have the discussion. Well, mommy have to go work, mommy have to do these things, but you need to go training. Okay, well, how do we do this? Can I allow you to be picked up by another friend who has a parent who, can facilitate that bonding and you learn some things? Or do I need to cut this and then divert you in this way? And that's why it's so important in the overall ecosystem. It's not just you as a parent with your child. You are part of a bigger community. And then parents, get yourself involved. Find different, community members, not your physical community all the time, but be a part of the school PTA. Ensure that you're on these different committees that will allow for you to, one, have that communal support in your parental guidance, and then it will, chances are, ease a lot of the stress that you may have because, again, when you're by yourself, it's going to be difficult.
And the final question.
Yeah.
What about the kids now, youth? What advice would you give to them? But maybe they want to play football, they might want to become a scientist, or they want to become a television presenter.
Yeah.
Whatever it may be, what advice would you give?
Dedication. Anything at all requires dedication. And then you move. If you are dedicated to anything at all, then you're going to deep dive. You're going to learn. You're going to want to know more. You're going to be explorative. That's really where it starts from. So anything at all, whether it be sports, politics, anything, business, you just want to ensure that you create a dedicated workspace, ensure that you have a process, create some kind of vision, what you want to achieve at the end of it, oftentimes probably 3, 5, 10-year vision. Get advice. So, you have counselors, you have other parents, you have your own friends, you have the internet. You have different sources that you can get advice from. And then, just execute. Execute. Ensure that you are executing. So if you get up and you want to be a podcast host, well, you have to get the mic, you have to get the camera, you have to get the tripod, you have to get the interviewer, you have to know the person, you have to have the questions. So, and you have to do that consistently. You can't just get up today and say, all right, yeah, I'm good. And then next week, there's no content.
Right.
So execute. Have the plan, execute to the plan, and adjust where necessary.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Sure.